Hello and welcome back to the channel on our continuing voyage to become better blues players. My name's Mark, and every band I've ever been in, at some point somebody needs to count you in. And every band I've been in, when I've been in the studio, the engineer will be laying down a click track for you to play to, and we'll say things like, is it a 12/8? Is it a 4/4? And you need to know what that means in order to be able to reply. And so understanding time signatures and how we count the blues is really important. And also how we count blues is slightly different than how we count other styles of music. And by that I mean we use time signatures that don't get used a lot in other styles of music. So we need to know how to count along to them. So in today's lesson we're going to look at the three main time signatures that we might ever get to play along to in a blues. And this covers probably at least 90% of all of the blues songs I've ever played. So we've got a straight 4/4. We've got the 4/4 shuffle, and we've got a 12/8, and I'll be explaining this with examples. So first of all, the straight 4/4. This is actually the time signature that's not actually used that much in blues. It does crop up occasionally, but not as common as the other two. But it's the most common for styles like pop music, rock music, and that type of thing. The more kind of popular styles these days, most of them just use 4/4 extensively. Also, it's, I'd say it's the easiest time signature to understand. So basically what we have is 4 groups of quarter notes. And we count that simply by counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But to get the feel of a straight 4/4, what we generally do is include the offbeat. So we're going to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the characteristic style of a straight 4/4 is those gaps between the number and the and, it's all equal. That's why we call it a straight 4/4, because each one is the same distance. What I'll do now is I'm going to put on a couple of examples of blues songs which use a straight 4/4. So listen along, see if you can tap in time with the music, and see if you should be able to count it's just a straight 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and.
I can feel a chill run up my spine. I've seen love freeze before, and I know that I'm on borrowed time. The heart has gone for pain. The heart has calls for pain.
Stretched out on the floor, baby, so elastic, but just get you tired and snap that plastic to the pieces went flying across the bed. Yeah, no discouraging word, 'cause I'm a confidence man. Look out now.
Very superstitious, running around the wall. Very superstitious.
Oh, not a bad sign. Been down since I began to call. If it wasn't no bad luck, I was down, no luck at all.
Well, the house is a rockin', don't bother knocking. House is a rockin', don't bother knocking. House is a rockin', don't bother, come on in.
So one of the interesting things of a straight 4/4 is when we play a 12-bar blues using a straight 4/4 beat and we play it reasonably up tempo, what we actually sound like is that we're playing kind of 1950s rock and roll. Maybe that's why Muddy Waters said the blues had a baby and he called it rock and roll, because the difference between blues and rock and roll is just that straight 4/4. Okay, so the difference between a 4/4 and what we call a 4/4 shuffle is in a straight 4/4, those gaps between those notes were all equal. In a 4/4 shuffle, what happens is we start to group them into pairs. So we get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so those notes are not equally distant. What they are is they kind of come in pairs. So again, here's a few examples. Count along and see if you can feel that kind of pulse, the and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So that 4/4 shuffle there, I would say that's probably the most common time signature that we're going to get play when we play blues. Far more common than the straight 4/4. So the other one then, and the one that's probably the most complicated, is the 12/8. So this is where we have a single bar of music is comprised of 12 8 notes. So we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and so on. And as you can hear, there's no real pulse to that. There's no real feel of where of the pulse of the groove of that time signature. So where this comes into play in blues is predominantly in like blues ballads and slower blues. And the way we would do them is we would group those into 4 groups of 3 notes. So instead of just being one long line of 12, we're now going to group them into groups of 3, and we're going to emphasize the first of each of those 3. And what we get is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And suddenly the music has gone from just having this long line of 12 to suddenly sounding like more like it's got a swing. So I'll be honest, I never count 12/8 that way. That's the kind of the correct way to do it. But what I tend to do is instead of thinking of this as 12 lots of 8th notes, what I tend to do, and I'll be honest, most of the musicians I've ever come across, what we do is you think of this as 4 groups of triplets. So instead of counting to 12, we only have to count to 4. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... And actually I find it much easier to count like that when I'm counting along to music, because I only have to count to 4, I don't have to count to 12. So again, here's some examples of blues music in 12/8. Have a listen, count along to it, and actually see which feels more natural to you. Are you counting up to 4 in triplets, or are you counting up to 12? So here's the examples.
Shaking, she even had on a different dress.
Okay, so one more curious thing before we leave. If we look at those 12/8 as in groups of 4 groups of 3 notes, and if we drop the middle note in each of those 3, what we get is this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you should hear there really is that sounds exactly the same as a 4/4 shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4. It sounds the same. It's the same rhythm, it's the same groove, the same beat. So when I first discovered this completely blew my mind, because now we've got 2 ways of expressing exactly the same thing. So which one's right? Also, that idea of, when we write music, are we writing the bar as 4 triplets or 12/8 notes? Which one's right, which one's wrong? The answer is there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever feels better, feels easier and more natural. If we are writing long streams of music where we've got all of those triplets, oftentimes it's easier to just write it as 12/8, where we just write lots and lots of 8th notes rather than having to constantly be denoting the fact that these are all triplets. Similarly, when we write 4/4, a 4/4 shuffle, what will often happen is that we'll write it as if it's just 4/4 straight, but at the top of the page put a little symbol which indicates that this is a shuffle, that the notes aren't equally spaced, that they're actually in these pairs. So actually, which one's right, which one's wrong, how we denote it and things is more about what's most easiest, what's most comfortable. If we're reading and writing music, what makes the most sense, what's easiest for that. When we're feeling music, when we're playing along, what feels the most natural and most easiest to play along to. For me, when I'm playing 12/8, that's always just thinking it's 4/4 with triplets. So, little task before we finish now. Next time you're listening to some blues music, I challenge you, when you're listening along, tap your foot or tap your hand on your knee and try and count along. And try and figure out, what am I listening to? Is it a straight 4/4 where all of these beats are equally spaced? Is it more like a shuffle where they come in pairs, so you get 2 notes at a time in pairs? Or am I feeling 12/8 where the notes are actually coming in packs of 3? Have a listen, see if you can test yourself, see if you can figure it out. If you're able to do that and you're able to test yourself, sooner or later you hear music and it becomes much more instinctive as which one it is. You don't have to tap quite as much in order to figure it out. And that really then helps us when we're playing along to music and things, when we're playing along to a backing track or we're a band, as understanding what it is we're listening to, what it is we're playing along to, and most importantly, where's that groove, where's that beat, where is the main beat that we're going to put those emphasis notes on. So I hope you enjoyed this. Come back next time, there'll be something completely different. As usual, big thanks to the Patreon supporters who keep the channel going. Literally couldn't afford to do this without them. And big thanks to those who leave a tip in my PayPal tip jar. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. I've got blues lessons coming every 2 weeks on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. Please leave a thumbs up, all the usual stuff. I'll stop waffling now. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next time.